So I'm so excited. Congratulations on your new book and launching it. Tell us, what is the name and what inspired you? I know you've been a student for 50 years, is it? How did this all come to be?
Yeah, the book is called I Ching Self-Change. And it did take 50 years to write this book. It's on a topic like this, you're kind of doing the reverse of the academic deal. You know, usually you're trying to make your reputation early in life and get known and all that. But with I Ching, it doesn't really work that way. It takes a long time to learn it well enough to be able to contribute. The I Ching is an oracle from China. And the purpose of my book is to sort of make that oracle available in our Western culture and make it give you the kind of background information that you need to understand what an oracle is, how to use it, and then how to understand the answers that you receive. And it's a pathway. I think when you were talking earlier, I would say that it's a pathway kind of like talking with your higher self, entering into a dialogue with a more vast portion of your own awareness. There is something about the synchronicity aspect of doing a consultation, you know what I mean? You can see possibilities closing down every time you throw the coin 6 times. And yeah, I guess we didn't explain that earlier, but when you ask the I Ching a question, you build a hexagram by throwing coins, and then you record the answer from 6 different coin tosses.
Okay.
And then that builds a hexagram, and so then that puts you in a unique position among the 64. That's how you get located on the GPS system. And then I think of it as a means of communication too, because as we were discussing earlier, now you're not you know what situation you're in. You've got a symbolic description. And that's kind of interesting because you have your experience itself to understand, but now you have a symbolic description of that experience. And then you also have the commentators. You have been put in touch with all of those people from all of those different times and places that were looking at life from that same angle, the one that you're in right now. And so you have the advantage of at least participating in that sort of intergenerational discussion about that corner of significance that you're in right now.
And so for someone like me who is an absolute beginner, this book is perfect, right? Because as you say, it's going to tell me about the tradition, it's going to tell me how to use the oracle, what the oracle's about, and then it will also help me then interpret what I from the coins that I throw. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm trying to provide explanations that are right at the beginning level. In other words, I don't know of another book like this where you would have one whole chapter just explaining what an oracle is. But I do that, and because you need to use an oracle. It's a very misunderstood topic. And the oracles have been a part of every culture that has ever existed. And we don't realize how much we have absorbed Christianity's put down of oracular activity that really doesn't have anything to do with most Americans at this point. I mean, you know what I mean? We're not Puritans that are running around scouring the whole world for Christianity anymore. Early Christianity did not like pagan religions, and pagan religions did have oracles. The Oracle of Delphi, for example, is a real good example of how respected the oracle really was. And then we have all this, they give ambiguous answers. No, they don't. The Greeks were not stupid. When they went to the Oracle of Delphi, they got answers. They had insights. They made decisions much more wisely and actually rescued themselves in several instances. In the Greek world, oracles were part of politics. Okay, the king was expected to ask before involving the country in a big deal, and the Oracle of Delphi would reply, and then the whole country would be talking about whether that was a good idea and what the oracle meant. Seriously.
Right.
Any battle going on in the Greek world, I'm against you and we are at war, I can say I need to consult the Oracle of Delphi, and you will part the ranks and let my messenger go straight through and go to Delphi and return.
And
No matter how vicious fighting ever got, everybody always had the right to consult the Oracle. I mean, that's how highly regarded the Oracle was.
Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea. That's very powerful. That's very powerful, and it's interesting now, as you're saying, looking at the influence of Christianity in our time, which just fully does not recognize the power of the intuitive, beyond the world thinking, the going deeper into the heart or into that mystical realm. And is the oracle of the Book of Changes, the I Ching, mystical in that way?
Yeah, I'd say it's a form of personal mysticism. It's a form of practice you can engage right now with your own higher self. Do you know what I mean? It's as far away as 3 coins. And that was one of the big advantages of I Ching when we were talking too. Why this oracle? It's very easy to use. One of the word I Ching, okay, the Jing means classic or book of, and then the I means change, but it can also mean chameleon. The word I can mean chameleon, but it can also mean easy. Easy, the easy. And this was recognized because, look, in the ancient world, it wasn't that easy to get to Delphi. Okay, you could consult your higher self and get an inspired answer, but there's a lot of work, okay? And also, it was usually you'd bring presents, and it was a big ceremonial deal. Consultations were not easy and casual. What, you want to sit around like a shaman and wait for bird prints in the ground? Or, you know what I mean? You want to have to kill a bird every time and look at its liver? Okay, so this is a form of consultation that's very readily available. And yet it puts you in contact with, like a mystical college.
A college?
Yeah, I think of all I Ching practitioners as, they're all going to the same college.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, we had a Japanese teacher in that college and a Chinese teacher. But we have to adopt this oracle to our Western world. And that is what I see as my role. That's what I wanted to do with this book. I think I've been with it long enough. I think I understand our culture well enough. And I'm trying to give you the means to have that personal mysticism available right now. Because that's what they wanted you to do. The way of change in China was a contemplative path. You would nibble away a little bit at a time, rather than taking ayahuasca and getting, the whole revelatory path all at once. This was a way you could learn the symbolism step by step in a safe environment and constantly just keep track of an ongoing dialogue. And it does turn out, to put it in more conventional terms, that if you work with symbols, you start to understand them a lot better. And that the intuition turns out it can be trained. Just like you can do remarkable things by training your muscles.
Yes, it is a muscle.
It's a muscle.
Yes.
Right. And just like you go, I wouldn't believe a human being could, lift a car above their head. Well, that's because you haven't worked with your muscles the way they got you'd be surprised what can be done. So it's the same with the intuition. You would be surprised what can be done with the intuition if somebody has actually taken the time to make of it a project.
So speaking of that, in reading some of your offerings from before, understanding that you've spent many, many years journaling, where you would on a daily basis consult the I Ching, journal, and then refer and sort of use your readings and your readouts to obviously navigate your path, but it's from all the years of really consciously journaling, taking notes, reading, defining, that you've created this relationship with this oracle and with the divine guidance that it gives. And would you recommend to a practitioner, a beginner, that is a good way for them to really consult, is to write it down, to really get into that journaling aspect? And how does one do that?
Yeah, the journal is an ideal modern format for self-contemplation in this sense. And there's a chapter on journaling in the book, I Ching Self-Change, and then also in my wife's book. Here you have an I Ching that was written without judgment, and from a woman's point of view, and from a therapist's point of view. And so here you can look up everything with hexagrams 1 through 64. And, you know, I was saying it's so great you can look up and find out what Confucius was thinking about the lines and all that. Okay, that's good, but it's also very nice to be able to find thoughtful material from your own time and culture that applies it to the situation, because the whole art of what you're doing is learning to interpret the journey of self-understanding with the help of symbols. I compare it to driving a car with a rear view mirror instead of not having a rear view mirror, okay? When you're doing your I Ching consultations and stuff, of course you're living life. That's driving the car. And the main thing is to keep your eye on the road. You're making your own decisions in life and stuff like that. It would be very tragic if all you were doing was looking in the rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. That's why we don't look at oracles or symbolism instead of living our life.
Very good.
It's an adjunct. It's a helpful benefit during the process of self-review. Like when you're putting on makeup, doesn't it help to have the beautiful mirror and the beautiful lighting so that you can see yourself the way other people are seeing you and make these adjustments? The rear view mirror can also show you what's going on behind. And that can be something that's looming up and is dangerous, and you can take action in time. So there is every practical reason to get to know yourself on a deeper level too. Why? Because you get a lot of timely warnings. You know what I mean? And also creative ideas. The whole thing is that when you're stuck, it's because you're locked into the pattern of your own expectations and beliefs. You know, we all don't see our way out because we're thinking our own thoughts. It's our own thoughts that got us into this situation.
But it's interesting because you're helping me to realize even in a greater way how much this tool can really help us orient ourselves into the now moment. Mm-hmm. Which is where real truth occurs. That's where the happenstance, the synchronicity, the divine, you know, the things that are not in the Akashic records, that have not been birthed or born. There's that saying, there's nothing new under the sun. I like to debate that because I feel that there's this, sure, there's nothing new under the sun as long as we're continuing to plug into the same past, present, future paradigms. But when we relinquish those aspects and fall and surrender to the now moment in a very powerful way, that's the exact alchemical moment where divinity is allowed, is given the right of way, where we let go and to create that which has never been before. And it feels like what you're saying to me is that this oracle is somehow in tandem with that dance, with that formulation of just that of that even being a possibility for us to contemplate. Am I in the right realm here? Does that resonate?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like in one sense there is only one question. You're always asking about the present moment, and you're saying, please illuminate my next step. The point is, though, you ask that again and again and again because life carries you into different situations. And I don't know, it's nice to have that idea of the mirror, that the oracle holds up a mirror, a symbolic mirror to your experience. Because it is kind of like what we were talking about with the makeup mirror. It's a darn handy thing to have, actually.
Versus putting on makeup without a mirror?
Yeah. or just saying, I don't need makeup. You know what I mean? It's part of self-reflection to see yourself as others see you. But a better way to say it would be to see yourself from a more universal standpoint. You're a human being. The problems that you're facing, if you're worried about a problem, is a human problem. Mm-hmm. Other people have had that too. Mm-hmm. And then the beautiful part of oracular consultation is the extent to which every problem does declare its own solution, if you can sit there and listen.
I love that. Every problem declares its own solution if you can sit there and listen.
That's right, yeah.
That is so powerful.
So we're trying to work with our receptivity to be able to allow the solutions to declare themselves, and sometimes that takes patience. It takes patience and work.
We switch gears. I'm curious, where's the depth or the non-depth for you in this? Like, what is the intention?
I did, the first I Ching consultation I did, I remember something really happened. I mean, I understood it immediately, which doesn't really happen that often. I think it's unusual to. I knew enough to draw the hexagram. It was hexagram 24. And that's thunder down below, one yang line, and then all these yin lines going all the way up. Yin, 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 all the way up. It's earth over thunder. So line 1 is yang, and all the rest of the lines are yin. And I looked at that, and I knew that the yin lines were receptive, and they were turning into the inner light. They were looking, I could feel that. I knew that that hexagram meant return, returning to your inner light. And then I opened up the I Ching in hexagram 24, which was that deal, is called return. And the whole hexagram is about returning to the inner light. And so I knew I had a connection there, and then I knew I had a connection with Dr. Anderson as well. He was an extraordinary figure. And he affected the whole group of people. There's lots of people involved. My wife was involved with the study group. It wasn't just me journaling. She journaled her whole life. I always got the benefit of her, what she was going through, which is good. Because honestly, you're a man looking at the Chinese Book of Changes, and you don't react exactly the same as a woman does to the symbols step by step. Now, I always learned a lot that way. I was grateful that I had somebody else to talk to.
Yes.
And so I did have a very sort of target-rich environment. But then writing, well, and before she died, she wrote up everything and put it into a book. But at this point, I kind of feel like the last man standing, in a sense. I do feel like it's my destiny to put all of that down. Nobody else managed to communicate it in a way that could be understood by the culture as a whole. And I think that's at least potentially there. I don't know that the book will have that impact, but I hope it will. Because I did give, anybody can be put in the same position as far as giving the basics to go forward and start your own practice. It will be in the book. I will cover the topic. I will have what a beginner needs to get going in all these different directions. And I leave 100 open doors when it comes to symbolism, because you have to. I can't do everything for you.
Good for you, right? You're going to open the door, but we have to go through the door ourselves.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? So in closing that idea, so from your very first I Ching experience, it's almost like this book is, after this 40 years or 50 years, as you say that it's been, now this book is almost, because I'm sure you're still on this path, but this book is almost like a turning point, a completion point of what was tapped and awakened in you all those years ago. Is that right? And now it's come so much to a full circle that now you can give this gift to us, that we can learn what you've learned.
Yes, that's a nice way to put it, and in a way it would be a relief, because I don't want to just be all about I Ching all my life. You know, I'm a philosopher, I'm a modern philosopher. I have a lot of investment in the world of Plato, and I love Greek drama as well. I really want to say some things about Sophocles, and I have a lot of interest, in other words. But yeah, it would be, it's a relief to me that this came out so well. And I wrote it and rewrote it. That book has been in a continual process of writing again and again over the years. These are essays that, I mean, I didn't come to the insights that are recorded about the way the trigrams work, except after 40 years. There is original material from me. I'm not, in the early part of the book, I am representing a tradition. And I think that's good too, because you need a good editor to go back in that tradition, because, you know, they got lost a lot in their number symbolism. Like with anything, it got too complex and needed to be simplified at certain junctures. You have to have the X-ray vision. And but the material that you can rescue is, you know, everybody's all nuts about Lao Tzu and the Lao Tzu's poems, and I love Lao Tzu. I would love to do a whole thing on Lao Tzu. But the material in the I Ching is just as beautiful, and nobody goes around talking about it. You know, the best man is like water. Everybody says that's from Lao Tzu, but the stuff from the oldest statements about yin and yang, and the oldest statements about Tao are in the I Ching tradition.
That's amazing.
It predates Taoism. It predates Confucianism. They were looking at the I Ching founders as as the wise sages of old.
I love that.
So I do believe that I can represent that tradition. It's charming, but it took me a long time to find out where the charming parts were, and then to just cut those parts out and give them to the reader. So I do think that in representing the tradition, I did a real service. But there's a lot of the original material that was me and my wife handling the symbolism. And also as an editor, I talked with people that were doing study projects and helped them figure it out and get it into publishable form. We published a lot of people's work in Dr. Anderson's exegetical manual. I was only the editor.
But still, that is like such an apprenticeship in a way, right? I mean, there you are. It's like Einstein working at the patent, office. It's like, and he's the inventor, but sitting there with all of everyone else's ideas or everyone else's interpretations or experiences. That's a very big honor in a way, And of course, it would appropriately go to the individual that would hold that space with such integrity and clarity. On some level, Spirit knew you were bound to create this beautiful book and create this beautiful offering for us. Tell us where everyone can reach you. Do you have a website or an email or something you want to share with us?
Yes, actually, I did get I Ching Self-Change as a website, so it's ichingselfchange.com, and my book is available on Amazon, either as a Kindle book or as a paperback.
I Ching Self-Change by Dr. Michael McDonald.
By Dr. Michael McDonald.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's so good to have you here. Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.